You are Locked On Marlins POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Fish fans? Welcome to your Locked On Marlins POSTCAST. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. And what a way to finish the weekend. What a way to finish the day in South Florida. Are you kidding me? A nice weekend all the way across the board. The Marlins 10-1 over the Phillies. They finished the 4-game split against the best team in the National League. Maybe it's the Dodgers. Maybe it's the Phillies. Who's really to say? Right now, you'd have to say it's the Dodgers because the Phillies came in hot. Winning, 4 in a row, maybe 6 in a row before this series. They win the first 2 games, and it's looking pretty easy from that standpoint. They clinched the season series. Marlins come right back, take the next 2. Now, they finished the regular season 6-7 against Philly. And now the Phillies have to look and say, we went 7-6 against the Marlins, and we're in a dogfight with the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. Had we won 2 more of those games against the Marlins, man, today's game was really important to the Phillies, and they didn't play like it. They didn't have the energy. They didn't have the enthusiasm. This team is getting murdered in Philly right now on the radio, on social media, as it should be, and the Philly fans are wondering what in the world is going on with their team right now. But I'm not worried or wondering what's going on with our team, and I know you're not either. You everydayers know this day in and day out here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We've been here all year with your Locked On Marlins POSTCAST. Thanks for making us your first watch every day. We're free, available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Gotta love FanDuel. I actually lost a couple bets on FanDuel today, but what in the world are we going to do? I'll explain in a minute. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. And there you have it. That's where you're going to get. I took advantage of that special. I got 3 weeks of NFL Sunday Ticket. You get the YouTube TV as well. And, you get a lot of things going with that deal. And we will explain more as time goes by on that one. But first things first, I let you know what's happening here with this game. The Marlins, 2 runs in the bottom of the first. Connor Norby with 2 2-run homers, 4 RBIs today. A big day for him. The first of 2 in the first inning. 2-run homer in the third as well. And Miami scored 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 7 in the third, none in the final 5 at-bats, or the final 5 innings of the game. The Phillies got 1 in the ninth on a Bryce Harper RBI single, but nothing doing. They only got 5 hits. Harper had 2 of them with the RBI. Schwarber 1 for 3, and Stott, who had a hot weekend, 1 for 4 for the Phillies. And just not a good. And Trey Turner left the game today for a pinch hitter. Just not a good weekend for the Philadelphia Phillies all the way across the board. They did not play well these last couple of games. They just didn't. They really didn't. And, when you think about what happened in this series, the way it was supposed to start on Friday was with Edward Cabrera on the mound for Miami. Had the migraine issues, didn't pitch, and, obviously saved for the last game of the series. And you look what happened today. So had he started the series off, you wonder how much that might have changed things. You know what I mean? 7 strong innings for Cabrera today. 7 strong. Scoreless innings, by the way. 7 scoreless innings for Edward Cabrera. Nice job for him. Norby homers twice. Yeah, 10-1. They beat him up. 26 years old, Cabrera. Struck out 6, walked 1. Didn't allow a hit until the 6th inning. And that was Brandon Marsh. 3 hits allowed for Cabrera in 7 innings. And, he's young and just getting himself going in this sport. He's 4-6 now. And he had the migraine symptoms on Friday. He didn't want to experience it. So there he is this afternoon. 3 hits for the rookie, Griffin Conine, Mr. Marlin Jr. See it up there as pops, of course, Mr. Marlin, Jeff Conine. And how about Javier Sanoja, not Sanoja, Sanoja, doubled and singled for the Marlins. And, the rookie with his first major league hit today. They took the last 2 of the 4-game series from Philly after they lost 16-2 on Friday. They lost the opener on Thursday. They got smoked on Friday, 16-2. Proof that in baseball, momentum is only as good as the next day's pitcher or the next day's lineup, as the Marlins over the last 2 games have bombed the Phillies. How about that, man? 7-6 season series for Philly, but they're going to be contending for the World Series, and Skip Schumacher said it best. He'll take it any day. And he just didn't want to think about a couple of days ago, the 16-2 game. But how about Norby? Gets called up from Triple-A Jacksonville on August 19th, right? Since then, 18 games. 18 games. He's hit safely in 17 of them. He has 6 homers and 13 RBIs. Connor Norby says he's trusting himself, putting the work in. Harper, of course, had the 2 hits. Major league debut for Philly starter Seth Johnson came over from the Orioles organization, gave up a 7-run third. Man, Otto Lopez, Conine, and Sanoja, consecutive RBI singles. Fortes, a 2-run double. Norby, a 2-run homer. Johnson just 25, 9 runs, 8 hits, and 2 1/3 innings. 5 seasons in the minors. There's a difference. And, man, just up in the hitting zone. Rob Thompson talks about it. You can pitch up, but you better pitch up, and he wasn't getting the ball there. You got to be way up or way down. Anywhere else, you're in big trouble. Norby homered, of course, for the 2nd consecutive game. Jumped on the Phils early. And how about this? This will tell you all you need to know about the Marlins season. They had their 69th player appear in a game this season, tying a major league record when Lake Bakar relieved Cabrera. He's got the Kenny Powers mullet, and it's dyed blonde. Love that. Lake Bakar. Lake Bacher? It's Lake Bacher. Sorry, it's Lake Bacher. Relieved Cabrera to start the 8th. He struck out the side. Perfect inning. Look, the Cubs only used 69 players in all of 2021. That's a lot. 69 players in 2021 for the Cubs. They also used 69 players in 2021. Man, it's crazy. And how about Garrett Stubbs, the Phillies catcher, pitched a scoreless 8th inning. The Marlins, I guess, were checked out by them. They already had their 10 runs. Ryan Weathers, 4 runs, 6 hits, 2 2/3 innings today, and a rehab start for Triple-A Jacksonville. He was pitching great before the injury. Not so much today, but that's what the rehab starts are for. They wanted me to pitch a rehab start, and I said, yeah. All right, I'm going to stop now. Anyway, the Marlins go to Pittsburgh. They start a 3-game road series with Valente Bayozo going to start the opener, and the Pirates have not announced a starter. So there you have it. Coming off the 4-gamer, the Marlins headed to Pittsburgh. The Phillies at home against Tampa Bay. You're watching your Locked On Marlins postcast. Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. Look at the Marlins, man. Norby homers, 2-run shot in the first. Edwards sacrifice fly to left, scores Sanoja in the second to make it 3-zip. Lopez singles to left. Sanchez scores to make it 4-0 in the third, and they kept on going. Conine with a single, scoring Bride. Sanoja with a single, scoring Lopez. Fortes with a double, scoring Sanoja and Conine, and then Connor Norby one more time. Ding, ding, ding. 400-foot homer to score Fortes, and then it was 10-zip by the end of the third. Harper scored. Rojas with a single in the 9th, made it 10-1, and that was your ball game. No one for the Phillies except Harper had 2 hits. He was 2 for 4. Norby 2 for 4 for Miami, and that was with what? Norby 2 for 4, 2 runs, 4 RBIs. Berger 0 for 4. Edwards 0 for 2. Had the sac fly in the RBI. Sanchez 1 for 2 with the run. Bride 1 for 3 with the run. Lopez 1 for 4 with the run and the RBI. Conine 3 for 4, the run and the RBI. 2 for 4 for Sanoja with 2 runs in the RBI. 1 for 3 for Fortes, run scored, 2 RBIs, and Johnny Pereda got in and went 0 for 1. Cabrera 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, his best outing of the season. Lake Bacher strike out the side in the 8th inning. And a scoreless in his first big league appearance. And Bermudez, 2 hits, 1 earned run. The Harper single in the 9th for Miami. Johnson, yeah, man, not so well for him. 2 1/3, 8 hits, 9 earned runs for the Philly starter. But Alvarado and Banks and Stubbs had scoreless innings of relief. You heard that right. Stubbs, their catcher, Garrett Stubbs, pitched the 8th inning for Philadelphia. You are watching Locked On Marlins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. 10-1. Marlins beat the Phillies. Dolphins beat the Jaguars today. University of Miami Hurricanes beat FAMU yesterday. Big weekend in the MIA for our sports teams. You're watching Locked On Marlins Postcast. Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease at @JimGrease_ on social media. What are we going to talk about on the other side? The hot streak of Connor Norby, Griffin Conine. What have the Marlins done offensively after that 16-2 game? Defensively, too, to turn things around and get these last couple of wins. We'll hit on that on the other side. Locked On Marlins Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Right after I get a chance to talk to you about FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you now, and I took advantage of this, so you're going to want to do it. Check this out. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And if you missed it this week, you can start it next week. Then, with a YouTube-based TV plan, you can watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And if that's not enough, FanDuel also has something special for our listeners this weekend. Be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all Sunday, September 8th, pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting Friday, 9/6. View your account page now. To learn more about your boost, visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook, and that is, of course, FanDuel.com. And we'll leave the overlay up there while we thank you for making Locked On Marlins Postcast, Canes, Dolphins as well. Your first listen today. By the way, for the best postgame after the Dolphins, come here. Locked On Dolphins Postcast right here on Locked On Sports Miami. Only here. Locked On Dolphins Postcast, the specific postgame show for the Miami Dolphins on the Locked On Podcast Network is right here. Locked On Dolphins Postcast. All right, but thank you for making Locked On Marlins Postcast your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast, and with Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. We talk about Sully. You ever meet a guy named Sully you don't want to have beers and watch sports with? No, you haven't. This guy's no different. He's here daily, going to provide national expertise with his trademark humor, get you through the dog days, and get you ready for the MLB playoffs. The Phillies aren't ready, judging by the last 2 games. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully. Philly fans might not have to. Sully's got it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure you check out the postcast we did today for the Dolphins after that win, 20-17 comeback win. Got nothing going offensively in the first half. Defense was getting run on like crazy. Second half, they flipped the script, turned it all the way around. Tyreek Hill, the 80-yard touchdown, the handcuffs at the end. Yeah, baby. The only Dolphins postgame show you want to watch is right here, or listen to is right here. Locked On Dolphins Postcast, right here. Locked On Dolphins Postcast, Locked On Sports Miami, YouTube. That's where you want to be right after every Dolphins game is right here. Locked On Sports Miami and Locked On Dolphins Postcast and Locked On Marlins and Locked On Canes Postcast as well. Big win for the Marlins today, 10-1 over the Phillies. They go 6-7 against Philly on the season. We'll have the scores a little bit later for you. And, of course, we got the Pirates series coming up, and that is the 9th, 10th, and 11th. I do believe, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We don't have a day off until Monday, the 17th, and that will be, or the 16th, rather, in between the Nats and the Dodgers. So 3 games with the Pirates, 3 games with Washington, and there we have it. 4 games with Washington, 3 against the Dodgers, 3 Atlanta, 3 Minnesota, 3 Toronto to end the year as we get close to the end of the season. Sort of start playing out the string here soon, no? I don't know. I mean, it's just too bad to see. And you'll have Bayozo on the mound against Skeens. You get to see Skeens for the first time and the only time this season. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then Aller and Falter, which is exactly what the Pirates have done. It's not nice, but it's funny, right? It's funny. Let's take a look at the injuries for the Marlins right now. And they look a couple of really good games. Yeah, nothing new. Nardi, Fauché, Meyer, Derek Hill. You know what I'm saying? So there you have it, and that's what's going on injury-wise. But, man, a nice couple of days for the Marlins back-to-back. Really, really nice to pick up these wins and do it against the Phillies. 9-5 and 10-1, 19-6. They outscore them in the last two games after being outscored 21-4 in the first two. A tale of two series. 21-4. The Phillies outscore the Marlins in the first two games. 19-6 in the second two. And the offense just really woke up. Norby's been crushing the ball. They've been hitting the crap out of it against Nola. You know, you had Zach Wheeler on Friday and Ranger Suarez before that. He got back on track, and the Phillies had won a bunch of games in a row. But then all of a sudden, Nola gets crushed. They have to start a kid today making his major league debut, and all of a sudden you hang 19 on the Phillies. And where did the Phillies go from here? We have to look at this on the other side. It's a Marlins show. Touch on it briefly, but you're in a dogfight with the Dodgers for the best record in the National League, and you give up 19 runs to the worst team in the NL in 2 days, and you lose 19-6 over two games, 10-1 in the series finale, 10-1. You are in a position where you're fighting to be number one in your league. You're fighting to be number one and possibly go to the World Series and win it all. And I know in Philadelphia right now, after this one, and they play the Rays next at home, they might get booed when they take the field. This is brutal. If you're a Philadelphia fan right now, what the Marlins have done these last 2 days is absolutely brutal for the Philadelphia Phillies. Absolutely brutal. 10 runs on 11 hits today. I mean, look at the Marlins in scoring position, 6 for 10 with runners in scoring position. That never happens. Never. Usually it's like 1 for 10, 3 for 14 on a good day, whatever, 3 for 12. No, 6 for 10. Norby 2 for 2. Sanoja 1 for 1. Conine 1 for 2. Lopez 1 for 2. Fortes 1 for 2. Edwards had one shot, was 0 for 1, but he had the sac fly as well. So all those guys coming through. Edwards had a stolen base, right? They had a couple double plays. Norby did commit a fielding error, but what a night for the Marlins, you know? And Norby with the big night, mentioned his numbers since he's been called up, and a great job by him. And so what really has happened here, when I look at what has gone on with the Marlins these last 2 days, they hit Aaron Nola hard yesterday. They hit him really hard. Norby got really hot. And, you know, you get a guy today making his major league debut. It's on the road. It's not a tough environment, but there's a lot of pressure right now on the Phillies. There is a ton of pressure on this team. And the Marlins literally playing with no pressure. These young kids coming up from the minors, just ripping the ball all over the field. And that's pretty dope, man, seeing what these kids were able to do with the Phillies right now. Look, the Dodgers are 86 and 57. The Phillies are 85 and 58. They're a half game behind now. They lose the last two against the Marlins, whereas the Dodgers have been playing really well lately. And they're 7-3 in their last 10. The Phillies had won a bunch of games in a row too coming into this. But look at the Dodgers winning the last two games against Cleveland, 7-2 and 4-zip. Ohtani's 3 homers, 3 steals away from 50-50. Still the 12th best offensive season of Barry Bonds' career before we get too crazy about that. And we actually correct some of the injustices that have been done in this game before we anoint and crown the new kings all the time. How about we just redo Cooperstown altogether and put the players who deserve to be in the Hall of Fame where it belongs, or make a separate Hall of Fame for Barry Bonds, because that's where he belongs. And I would never even go to Cooperstown without Barry Bonds in there. And that's just the way I feel. But the Dodgers win 2 in a row against Cleveland. They have the Cubs coming up, and now the Phillies are a half game behind the Dodgers. And the reason I bring that up with the Phillies being a half game behind the Dodgers is because of the fact that Philly has lost 6 times to the Marlins this year. 6 times, okay? To put that in perspective, the Marlins don't have 60 wins. They have 54. So more than 10% of their wins have come against the Phillies. Some things are inexplicable. They're 85 and 58, 38 and 33 on the road. Their home record's crazy. But the Marlins have done really well against the Phillies this year. And they've had some games where they've been smoked, like the 16-2 game. They got outscored 21-4 in the first 2 games of this series, and then outscored the Phillies 19-6 in the final 2. A tale of 2 series. But if you're a Phillies fan right now, you're going crazy. You can't believe this is happening. Marlins fans, wherever you are, you're excited because this team just keeps finding ways to not give up, to put pressure on opposing teams. They're fun to watch. They make it fun. They make it a pleasure to watch them day in and day out. You everydayers know this. You know this, right, guys? Absolutely. You're watching your Locked On Marlins postcast. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. One more segment left in the show on a magical weekend in Miami. The Canes win, the Dolphins win, and the Marlins take the last two from the Phillies to finish 6-7 against them on the season. They outscore them 19-6 in 2 games at Lone Depot. Site of the former Orange Bowl, where the Canes game would have been, or if it would have happened a bunch of years ago. And then the Dolphins and Canes, of course, both playing at the Rock up the road and getting those wins. When we wrap it up, we'll look ahead to Pittsburgh. Skeens on the mound, man. Get a chance to see him. Beozo pitching for Miami. Another chance to see that young arm. It's been good. We'll update you on the injuries and the injured list. We'll talk about the standings, and we'll give you the scoreboard. Much more coming your way. Locked On Marlins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, at Jim Grease _ as we continue to bring you your team every day. Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. That's right. And eBay Motors has got you covered. They got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof rocks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Roof racks, not rocks. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And of course, want to thank you one more time making Locked On Marlins postcast your first listen. We already did Locked On Dolphins postcast today, Locked On Canes postcast yesterday. The place for the best postgame analysis, postgame shows right here. Locked On Sports Miami. Locked On Sports Miami for the Dolphins and the Canes postcasts, right? On the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can get the everyday stuff from Alex and from Kyle. Locked On Canes, Locked On Dolphins, but the post-game shows right after the games end are right here. Locked On Sports Miami, Locked On Sports Miami, Locked On Sports Miami. Make sure you come here for the post-game. All right, Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. 10-1, the final. The Marlins with another victory today. Cabrera, man, the best start of the season for him. Edward Cabrera. We've been talking about him. He's still got the ERA close to 5, but you look at those games, and today, 7 innings, 3 hits, 6 Ks, no runs. Beautiful job for him. Last time out, 5 1/3 against the Giants. 2 runs, 1 earned on 6 hits in 5 1/3 innings. Before that, it was 3 earned against Colorado, 3 earned against Arizona, and 6 earned against Philly. But before that, he was dealing. Before that little bit of a rough stretch, and remember that Philadelphia game was just literally a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, right? He got ripped by the Phillies. And today, very different. But before that game against the Phillies, no runs, 2 runs, 1 run. So he had been giving you glimpses. And today, with that four-seamer, picking up all those strikes, I mean, that thing was just tailing back across the outside corner to righties, starting real far in on lefties and coming back and painting the corner. His pitches were working today. His changeup was really biting, and he was fantastic. So props to Edward Cabrera. He and Norby, along with Conine for the 3 hits, the stars of the game today for Miami, and they will continue moving on, with Pittsburgh here, and then obviously not here, Pittsburgh next. At Pittsburgh, at Washington, 7-game road trip through the 15th. And then they will be looking like, Sunday, September 15th, the 7-game road trip. And then back home on Tuesday, the 17th through the 19th for the Dodgers. Then the Braves, see those teams, really good teams there before the end of the season. Those are your last 2 series that you'll see at home this year for the Marlins as they continue to play out the string. And, they made the playoffs a year ago. The record in 1-run games is like 33-11, something like that. This year, they traded everybody. We've been through it all year long. It's been a nonstop, continuous journey with the Miami Marlins this season. And it's not been easy, right? You guys know this. You everydayers for sure. And you've seen 69 players now used by this team. 69. The Cubs did it in 2021. what that does, and tons of them were in the rotation, right? Alcantara last year with the Tommy John. Meyer missed a ton of time. He's on the shelf again. Weathers and Luzardo started pitching well. They went on the IL. Sixto Sanchez, you know what I'm saying? Braxton Garrett. They traded what's his name? They traded to the Orioles. Come on, Trevor Rogers to the Orioles. And yeah, that's been tough on them throughout the season. And then, with the bullpen, Tanner Scott's gone, and you traded Brazoban, and you traded Chargois, and now you got so you've got so many guys on the injured list for Miami now, that with all those guys you traded and the ones who keep getting hurt throughout the year, Calvin Faucher's on the injured list now, Nardi's on the injured list now, Meyer's gone on the injured list, Braxton Garrett is still making rehab starts, Weathers making rehab starts. Doesn't look like Luzardo's going to do anything for the rest of this year. Sanchez still on the IL. And, it's going to be in Luzardo on August 5th that they said he's going to be shut down for 6 more weeks. So that's the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? So it's just been a brutal year. And then all the trades, but you trade Tanner Scott and Luis Ariz to the Padres alone, the best hitter in baseball, maybe the best closer in baseball. Chisholm, DRC, and DLC, and Chisholm, and Josh Bell, and just so many guys gone. 69 players used this year. You're going to get the record you have when that's the case. It just is what it is, right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? But you are 6-7 against the Phillies this year. More than 10% of your wins have come against this team. Sometimes baseball just is a funny game. But today was a nice win. They scored 19 runs in 2 days, and they're going to need that momentum going on the road to face Skeens, right? What has Skeens been doing lately? Took the world by storm when he came in, right? Throwing that heater consistently throughout the game, the big explosion with the fastball. He's 9-2 with a 2.13 ERA, came in for the All-Star game. Last time out, went 5 innings, no runs, 6 strikeouts against the Cubs. He's been going about 5-6 innings to start. No one does any more than that anyway. Not going to see those big Kerry Wood, Roger Clemens strikeout games anymore. I don't know. Not with the way they baby everybody's arms in Major League Baseball these days. But it's been a great weekend here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You got Pirates coming up with the Marlins, going on the road for the Pirates and the Nats. Got the Canes at home again next week for Ball State. Dolphins Thursday night against the Bills coming in. The Canes win, they're 2-0. The Dolphins win their opener 1-0. The Marlins take the last 2 from the Phillies to split the series and finish the season series 6-7 against Philadelphia. They scored 19 runs in 2 days. No one's even paid attention with the 2 football games right up the road. And look at the Miami Marlins with these 2 wins back to back. You found a stud in Connor Norby. I would like to see what this kid can do next year. He's a keeper. Who else is a keeper? We'll see. What other moves will they make? We'll see. They gave it a shot. They brought in Tim Anderson after the playoff run last year with a rise. They tried by the time the middle of the season came along. And I give this to the ownership, and I give this to the front office. 9-game losing streak to start the season, 3 5-gamers and a 6-gamer before the All-Star break. After that, it was over. So obviously, if those players wanted to stay, if this team wanted to stay together, they had their chance. It had its chance early in the year. And look, it just became a fire sale. But we've seen that so many times. That story has played itself out so many times here before. It gets frustrating. But what you found from the rubble, the ashes, the Phoenix rises, and you got some guys taking advantage of these opportunities. One of the 69 is Connor Norby. He would never have been here without all those trades. You know what I'm saying? And it just is what it is. That's the climate. That's the marketplace in Major League Baseball right now. That's all there is, Fish fans. There is no more. Your Locked On Marlins postcast on your Sunday after the win over Philly. They split the series against the Phillies. They take the last 2 by a combined score of 19-6, 10-1. Today, Cabrera the win, 7 scoreless innings, no runs, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. Beautiful job by Edward Cabrera. Connor Norby, 2 2-run homers. Conine, Yes, Griffin Conine, a 3-hit day. Fortes, a 2-run double. A beautiful job by the Miami Marlins in anonymity with the 2 football games going on up the road. They take the last 2 from the Phillies on to Pittsburgh next. We will be here for your Locked On Marlins postcast tomorrow night. What time does that game start? With Paul Skeens on the mound against Valente Beozo for the Miami Marlins. And that game will start at 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Beozo and Skeens, it's the odds and the numbers and everything are not out yet for that game, but we'll get you them as soon as we can. And we'll be here tomorrow after the game with your Locked On Marlins postcast. A reminder to come here and only here after your football games. Locked On Sports Miami for the Hurricanes postcast and the Dolphins postcast. Locked On Canes postcast, Locked On Dolphins postcast after every single University of Miami and Miami Dolphins football game. We are live with the postcast right away, instantly. The only place for the best post-game coverage of your Hurricanes and your Dolphins right here. Locked On Sports Miami. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Been a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for being here. 10-1 Marlins with the victory. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Fish fans, after this win. Jim Greasehaber, at Jim Grease _ on social media. Call me Grease. Keep your game tight and your mind right, Fish fans. I'm out. There we go.